Hello! Welcome to a very special edition of Comic Nom, which we haven't done for a very, very long time.
Well, it's the Mike show now, isn't it? Because you dumped me.
No, you dumped me.
I didn't dump you, I just...
You was kind of like, oh, I do comic books.
I love comic books, but unfortunately I have a very penguin-savvy audience, so it became something for difficulty on my channel. And then Mike was like, I don't need you, Hicks. I'm doing my own channel. I don't fucking need your celebrity. That's right. I used the word celebrity when describing me. It's really fucking hot.
Anyhow.
If I'm sweating, guys, it's really hot in here. I'm not just obese. I am obese, but that's not the point.
Hex has been nagging me for a very, very, very long time to read this book that, spoilers, changed his outlook on comic books. It's called Planetary and it's written by Warren Ellis.
They know that.
Eventually, I decided I would read it and I figured, hey, why not make a video about it, seeing as it's probably one of the only few things that we've both read in quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because you found this, I'm just hit the desk again. Just because you found this video on Mike's channel, it doesn't mean that you can't go to HexDSL. That's hexdsl.co.uk to check out my videos.
Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to, or you could just stay here.
Yeah, you can do both.
And
it's not mutually exclusive.
My random ass videos from my PlayStation that somehow get posted.
Anyway, back to the topic. The Planetary is 27 issues. And can I just point out here, this is the omnibus I've got in my hand here. And I'm taking off the dust cover of the Planetary. The reason I'm taking the dust cover off is, look at this beautiful book! This beautiful book! Just look how beautiful this book is.
I'll be honest, it looks a lot better without the dust cover.
I know, but you can't not have the dust cover.
The dust cover doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, that is just
obviously the dust cover's all the whole, hey, buy this book, this is what happened in this book.
Worst cover, actually the dust cover's just shocking. Worst cover ever. Shit.
We've had a few brief discussions about this book, and like one of the main things that happened was you kept saying, "Keep going, keep going, don't give up."
I'm just gonna give up on that.
Let it get to a certain point. Wait until you find out who the fourth man is.
This is going back. Just ignore that.
Probably ruined the whole video.
Sorry.
You kept saying, get until who the fourth man is, and then, you know, if you still don't like it, then give up.
Well, for those of you that haven't read it, and spoilers are coming, Planetary follows the adventures of Elijah Snow, also known as Weird Blue Guy on the front, who's not actually blue in the comic, and I don't know why he's blue and has jigsaw piece on the front.
Also known as Mrs. Elsa. Mr. Elsa.
He's a guy whose power set is that he's not so much creating cold as, from what I understand the way it works, is he pulls the temperature out of places. So like he can walk into a room, it just goes cold, right? He has the ability to reduce the temperature. So he doesn't have the ability to create snow so much as reduce temperature. So it's not really outlined. But one of the things in the book is he seems to be functionally immortal, which is to say of old age he will never die of. But he can still be killed and get sick and all the other stuff, but he'll just live forever functionally. He was born on January 1st, 1900, as most of the people who fill in forums would be. Well, you fill in a forum and it's like, what's your age? You go, that's January 1900. Anyway, he was born there, so he's over 100 years old by the time the adventures of the book take place.
That becomes a bigger part as you get on in the story. You find out that he's not the only one. He's not the only one born on this specific date with powers.
He opens up with someone named Jakita Wagner. Remembers
Wagner,
who's a kick-ass girl who's like all girl power and badass. She's like, I don't know, leather-clad Lara Croft, really, isn't she? She comes in and she's like, look, dude, we need someone for our team. We know all about you. Come join our team. He joins the team, and there's Jakita Wagner, a guy known only as Drummer, some also called Sticks, Drummer Boy, Drums, Bongo Boy, and loads of other stuff throughout the story. But he's just called Drummer.
He pretty much most of the time he's doing this.
Yeah. Her ability, Jakita's ability, is that she's super badass, and it's kind of at first when you first start reading, like she's kind of like vampire-ish, but not. But basically, she's got enhanced reflexes. She doesn't seem to be bothered by the emotional side of stuff very much. She's all business.
She just wants to hit stuff.
Yeah, she's basically badass and really fast. Like she can have we're not talking flash, we're talking bursts of speed that are superhuman.
Like I can run across the room and punch you before you can draw a gun.
It reminded me of Interview the Vampire power sets there, when there's the celebrity concept and stuff. That's why I thought she was a vampire at first. And then Drummer, he can see information essentially. His brain allows him to extract information from electricity in the air. He's somehow it's not. But what I like is they don't feel
Cypher from X-Men.
But what they do is they don't feel the need to actually explain the power sets. They just kind of like, you'll figure it out. They don't sit you down and go, here's the spoon.
At no point do they say, this is what this person is capable of. It just happens over the spread of the books. Which
is really smart. Such a refreshing change.
Once you've read enough to get that, that's when it becomes like, that's quite clever.
You've got a really long random hair on you. That's really weird, actually. Sorry, it's really distracting me. Like a really long hair coming off his beard. Sorry. Weird.
My first impressions of the book were, what the fuck? This is stupid and pretentious as fuck.
Right. Well, before you get past that point, I want to just carry on filling the audience in the plot before you get to the point. Otherwise, it's going to confuse them. Basically, Elijah joins a team of 4 people because there always has to be 4 in a team. He finds out his predecessor 3. Yeah, but the 4th man.
The 4th man is
the team is 3 plus the 4th man. Yeah. So there always has to be like the 4 in the team, but they don't know who the 4th man is.
Always been spoken as the 4th man.
Yeah, and this goes on for like a good probably 10 issues.
Who's the benefactor? He's the one that funds everything.
These are the big spoilers, guys. Elijah Snow is the 4th man. Right? He had his brain wiped by some bad guys that are evil Fantastic Four. What?
Yeah, they are the evil Fantastic Four.
I thought he was like, you spoiled it. Fuck.
No, the spoiler. He just made me. The spoiler wasn't a fucking spoiler. It was shit. I was just kind of like. Because you built it up, you're like, wait to the front.
Well, see, that's why it's weird though. Because as I'm reading it, I bought this on a whim. Someone told me it was good, right? And then literally, I went on Amazon. It was like 40 quid, 38 quid. And that was like, it was discounted. And I had some extra money in my bank, and I thought, you know what? I've never read anything bad by Warren Ellis. Fuck it, I'll just buy it on a whim, complete whim, right? When it came, it sat on my side for about 3 days. And he was even shrinking up for like 3 days. And I cracked it open one night, poured myself a cup of Earl Grey. And sat there, and I cracked it open. From the first page, essentially, I was like, this is just brilliant. I pretty much read it in one set. I read half of the book. I went to work the next day. I came back from work. I put my pajamas on, made some Earl Grey, and then read the rest of the book. Right? I literally read it as fast as I could, and then I went back. And since then, I've had it about 3 months now. I've probably read it 3 times in those 3 months because this book is so well written and so beautifully, masterfully told. It has changed the bar for me. I mean, you know, I used to go Saga good, right? This is the benchmark. This is where we have to be, guys. This is fucking brilliant. And the reason it's brilliant, before you say how you didn't like it, is because not one point do they stop for exposition. They don't stop to tell you anything, right? And as you're reading it, you have feelings like they always get like what the team does is they go into like X-Files style to investigate weird shit happened, but on a large scale. So like if something super weird, they'll go and be the first response, and they may or may not be affiliated with governments. It's sort of left in the background. That is whether or not they're allowed to do it or not. And then they're the frontline team that go and investigate, and then they bring their dudes in to investigate afterwards. They basically they describe themselves as architects of the weird at one point. I think that's a really good way to explain it because they go in, they find weird shit. They contain weird shit, or they get rid of weird shit, and they're like it's a little bit like Warehouse 13 meets X-Files, that sort of thing.
I agree with that.
And at one point, the lead character Elijah just goes, "We always get here after it's over. We always get here, and we're sort of figuring out what happened before we was there." But it's weird because as I'm reading it, I was in my head, I'm going, "They always get there too late. It's really annoying." But then, so when the lead character says what you're thinking, you're like,
Up until the point of the reveal, your point of view is Elijah Snow's point of view. Everything he says is pretty much exactly what's going through your mind, which was a very clever way of telling the story. Done. But once he's like, "I'm the 4th man, bitches."
Yeah, then you start getting like a whole issue that's set in his past that explains Jakita, and then you get a whole issue which is sort of like a flashback of a character that's not even in the rest of the book, and it's nice because instead of being one method of storytelling, it gets to a certain point. And it's sort of, you feel like you've been turned upside down for the rest of the book.
And you find out that these guys, who are pretty much the Fantastic Four,
evil Fantastic Four,
have been hoarding all this like technology and breakthroughs and alien tech and all this stuff that could help the world. And that turns out to be what the main plot is. It's Elijah trying to get that off them,
so that he can save the world,
enhance the world, bring the world forward.
what I love, don't you think though, when you say save the world, when Iron Man saves the world, he beats up the bad guy or solves the plague, he does a thing. What Elijah's trying to do is fundamentally use this technology and history and knowledge to fundamentally change our reality. He wants to not just change, like save the world now, he wants to save the world forever, to make the world better. And that's the key fact. I was like, obviously that's what superheroes should be doing. Sorry, rant.
Well, no, you're right, because like it's different. It's a substantial change. There's no going back once that's happened.
Yeah, that's what I loved.
This is a cure for cancer. You can't go back now.
Yeah,
cancer is gone. Do you know what I mean? It actually changed. You know, beating up the Mandarin, that doesn't change the world. It's
no.
Another bad guy will take his place. You know, the whole Batman. You know, the Batman theory. There's only only master villains in Gotham because Batman is there.
Yep.
You know, chaos creates chaos. Blah 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 blah. But you're right about you keep referring it to TV shows.
Yeah.
Because that is how it read. Each episode, each issue
was an episode.
To a certain point was a Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
Type deal.
But there's this running thread. But it's so well peppered. It's like someone wrote an episode, Monster of the Week TV show, and then went back and re-peppered it with a running thread that's so subtle that the first time you read it, you sort of go, holy shit, but then the next time you read it, you go, ah.
Yeah, in my opinion, it was very Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
There's things that you wouldn't notice, but if you go back, you're like, holy shit, that relates to this and that relates to this. Because when I'm reading it, I'm like, what the fuck? This makes no sense compared to that issue before. And then they're doing this. It's like, they're fighting aliens, they're fighting robots, what the fuck is going on, blah, 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 blah. And then I was close to quitting reading. I was like, this is bullshit, I don't like it, it's pretentious, it's stupid. And then little silly things started happening, like when they did an issue that was quite blatantly going, this is the Justice League.
Yeah.
It's like it happened when he called him the first space cop.
Yeah, and
I was like, that's the fucking Green Lantern.
Yeah,
and he even had a lantern.
And then again, massive spoilers. At one point, in just a throwaway scene, one of the evil four, the evil fantasy four, goes to investigate a crashed baby that comes from a world, and they basically describe the world as Krypton, and he's just like, baby, and he just baby solved. It's just like brilliant.
I genuinely think that might be the point where my brain went,
awesome. Yeah.
That was cool. And I was reading, I was talking to Heaven when I was reading, and I was like, oh, this is so corny. Come on, she just called her daughter a wonder. Gee, I wonder who she's supposed to be.
But at first,
but they did it really well because they didn't look like the characters do in DC. The aliens from Krypton looked like aliens. They didn't look like.
That's what it is. Though. It's like a grounded version of the DC continuity.
It is the underlying thing behind every issue was the multiverse.
Yeah, which is something that DC have been doing forever.
It took a while for that to click.
Yeah,
because I've not read much multiverse stuff in DC, so I instinctively didn't think that must be what it is. But you eventually get there and go, this is a different version of the Green Lantern, this is a different version of Superman, this is a different version of Batman, blah blah blah.
Well, the Batman issue kind of hammers that home.
That's just the world that Jakita, Elijah and Drums live in.
Yeah.
It's a different universe, it's a different Earth. That's what they call it, it's a different Earth, isn't it? And once I made that connection, it started to be more enjoyable. I started to read it a lot better. It never made anywhere near an impact on me as it has with you. I thought it was cool when I got to the end.
But do you find yourself, though, as you think about the aspects of the story, that once you give more thought to the aspect, it's like, you know when the first time you watch a film, right, and you watch something like The Matrix, and at first you go, that was an awesome sci-fi, but then you realise you can analyse it and go deeper, and there's layer after layer of perspective there that's not there. Like, some people watch The Matrix and go, it's a cool action movie about superpowers and computers, and you're like, yeah. But then other people like me, I watched there's a director's commentary on the disc, but it's a philosopher's commentary on The Matrix, and it takes The Matrix and goes, this is a symbolism of this religion and this idea, and it sort of shows you how to read more and more into the story, where with this, I feel like you can read it and go, it's a Monster of the Week and it's got a cool, nice ending, or you can go, it's like, this means something, this means this means, you can start analysing it.
But there's come on, the Wachowskis are known for being pretentious douchebags.
Yeah.
I mean, don't watch Jupiter. Seriously, it's shit. It's the shittest film I've seen.
In his opinion, don't sus.
Since fuck, I can't even think.
Billy Zane going overboard.
I've never watched that.
Was that Billy Zane? Pretty bad movie.
It was terrible
Yeah.
because it was too pretentious, and
I'll probably enjoy it.
I could do a whole video about Jupiter Ascending. To be honest,
You should do.
Yeah, maybe I should. There's that things like some people they don't want all this extra philosophical bullshit. It's like I just want a story that can have meaning. Everything doesn't have to have a meaning. I don't have to be told that this represents this. And
No,
this
but
represents
that's why I like Planetary, because even though, like, from my point of view, every issue can be read. You can analyse every issue. You could write a paper on every issue if you wanted to. But at the same time, it's done in a way that you can almost miss that. You can almost read it and not notice the depth, and that's why I love it.
Can go over because for quite a while, a lot of it was going over my head, and I'm just kind of like, this makes no sense. But then, once the kind of multiverse thing clicked, it was like, now I get it. Now I see what this was. This story is a metaphor. This story is like their take on a myth. Yeah. And you know, it's
one of the guys on Amazon reviewed it, and they actually described it as Warren Ellis wrote a love letter to all the different things he loves, and each issue is Warren Ellis taking something he loves and then making it his own and taking it for himself, and that's awesome.
Going, I really like Moby Dick. I'm going to do my own version of Moby Dick. That's kind of cool. I like it, and it was a welcome break from the norm, from the superhero, blah blah blah. You know, like you said, Jakita. You liked Jakita from the get go.
Oh, I always like Jakita's awesome. She's so cold and evil, but so good.
Like, I hate the carrot dangling thing. Is this person evil or are they good?
But you know what? If you reread it, and I have, they don't imply she's evil because she wears black and isn't emotional. You assume she's going to be evil because you've been trained by comic books to assume they're giving you a carrot, and he wasn't.
My favourite issues are the backstories of Jakita and Drums. You remember I said to you, I read the Jakita one, and I instinctively said, Drums better get one, or I'm going to
I was like...
And he kept his mouth shut, and I was just kind of like, what does that mean? So he's got me in my own head already going, does that mean there's not going to be one, or does that mean there's going to be one? And
I was just like,
and then like something like 3 or 4 issues later, Drums gets his one, and it's like, it's just as badass as Jakita's.
But a different way.
Fucking links, and that was cool. So I got to the end of Planetary, and I was like, you know what? It's good. I enjoyed it.
But it didn't change the bar for you like it did for me.
It took me a while to click. It took me a while to enjoy it because I think part of me was just rebelling against it. Stop trying to make me think things. Stop trying to make me like.
Well, can I?
Be all,
a couple of things.
Is a representation of blah 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 blah.
A couple of things I liked about the actual characters. Forget the story, the characters. I like the fact that they're all kind of dicks, right? Like Elijah, before he gets his memories back of who he really is and discovers his own history, he's kind of miserable and depressed. And then when he gets his memory back, he goes back to being, because he can't remember a lot, he's almost like a younger version of himself. And then when he gets his memories back, he becomes a grumpy old man, essentially, because he's been a depressed dude, because like he can't remember, he's tormented, Wolverine-esque, I suppose.
Very Wolverine.
And then all of a sudden when he gets his memory back, his personality changes. Instead of being a timid guy standing on the edges, a bit like, miserable, he goes from standing on the edges to standing in the light and being a leader. And being,
this is what we've been very proactive, like, this dude's been missing for 50 years or something. We're going to go get him.
But what I liked was, you saw flashes of who that person is in earlier issues. There's in fact, I think it's the first or second issue, where they find a soldier that's a guy who's basically Flash Gordon. That's with the wobbly legs. That's been he's basically been standing guard over the multiverse, stopping evil coming through for 50 years, right? And then this is Elijah, who's just new to the team, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's sort of like, no, we're going to help you. And he uses his authority he doesn't have, way above his pay grade, to make promises he can't sustain. And he's like, let's tell you fourth man to do as he's fucking told, because this is the right thing to do. And then they all do it because it seems like the right thing to do and he's right. Well, but then later...
At the time, you think it's because it seems like... When later you find out they did it because he's
actually in charge,
It's like, what he said, they're actually scared of him. But they just don't show that.
That's the thing, though. It's the idea that you see flashes of who he's going to become. It's like a wonderful piece of character work, because over here you've got the person he was, then you've got the person he becomes, but you see flashes like foreshadowing in a way that's brilliant.
I think the general thing we're coming down to is Planetary makes a lot more sense and is much better on a second read through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And third as well, yeah.
Well, I'd liken it to Fight Club.
Yeah.
Which is one of my all-time favourite films. You watch it the first time, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then watch it the second time, and you pick up on so
you're
much
looking
more.
for the clues.
And like, you know, little things like when you see Tyler Durden flicker on the screen, you're like, oh, I didn't see that the first time because you weren't paying attention. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. But, you know, a lot of it's all clicking. Like, even things that he's saying to me now, I'm like,
you're like, oh
shit,
yeah. That's why I love this book though, because I've analysed it essentially. I loved it so much. I've gone back and I've read it like with a fine tooth comb. I've read like, instead of just reading it, I've like stared at each panel. I've got a love for this work. It's probably instantly my favourite comic book instantly, right? But then you got Jakita as well, who like Jakita is a callous bitch, and if it wasn't for Elijah going, you do this because it's the right thing, not because you care. You just, whatever the right thing to do that, forget what you think. He sort of stops her being essentially falling into the trap of darkness by giving her rules to follow, because just like in that TV show Dexter, you give someone who's psychopathic or a serial killer, you have to give them a set of rules to follow, and he is the strength that keeps her on the straight and narrow. And then Drums is essentially insane. He's essentially got like autism, and he's insane. And I just watching a dog like, that's actually, I was watching a dog outside beat up another dog. It's like, it's a bit weird. There's people like freaking out and stuff. That's my neighbour. Sorry.
Dude, he's gonna hump the dude.
Sorry, this is right. I hope you can edit this bit out.
I don't know, I might leave it in.
It's just a dog just shot down the road and just tried to like murder
one dog
another
like this big, and then another dog like this big, and the dude had to pick the dog up and
like, no, that dog's like humping his head as he's doing it. Anyway, back in track. Like Drums is essentially autistic. He's got some proper social problems, and if he hadn't been taken by Elijah and sort of not brought up, Elijah was never a parent figure, but he was the bastard that kid needed. He was the structure, because Elijah's not a caring person. He's in it to save the world, and if he has to do bad things to do that, he's willing to do it.
I think he is a caring person. He just doesn't
the big picture
show
care.
it. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, I'll do this because it will make you a better person in the long run. I'll do this to save your life. You know, it's all about the long, big picture, the long run.
Well, that's because he's functionally immortal. He has to think long term.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly. And he keep mentioning. He kept likening it to Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
And it's like it's very similar. You know, they don't think about the here and now.
Yeah.
They think about what's going to happen next week or next month or next year or next decade.
As we get to the end of the story, and again, this is massive spoilers, guys. This is more of a discussion for people that have seen it, that have read it, not a discussion for people who haven't read it. So please don't watch anymore. As you get to the end of the story, and Elijah, he beats the four. He beats the evil guys by being a fucking badass and using his historical knowledge to forward to trick them into falling into his trap, because he knows things from 100 years ago that they have no way of knowing, because he's just been paying attention all this time. And that's why the front of the book is the Planetary Guide. He's been writing these guidebooks of the weird, almost like Ripley's Believe It or Not, but like for the Illuminati essentially. He knows stuff, and he uses his attention to detail to trick the bad guys into falling for his plan. Not going to ruin that bit, because there's a whole extra. We could have a video on the bad guys, to be honest. But then he tricks them. He wins. When he's won, he saved the world. He gets annoyed because they're not saving it fast enough. Yeah. He's like, no, just give money to this. Give money to just fucking, I don't care, save the world. And the whole world's like, thank you, Planetary Society, you're awesome. And what does he do? He literally travels through time, changes the laws of physics, and uses all the knowledge in the whole 27 issues, accumulates the moment when he brings his friend back from the dead. Right, and that's, to me, that's it. Well, yeah, because his friend...
He brings his friend back from the...
Trapped in time.
Dying, stuck in stasis, time,
thing,
separate from... You know, kind of like how Gallifrey was taken out of the time...
But his friend's basically stuck in a time bubble, and everyone thinks he's dead. But no one believes that he's going to be able to save his friend. People believe his friend is long dead, and they've mourned him and moved on, right?
Drums manages to use his...
Yeah. And then,
but
they say, and that's the thing. All this happened, and then Drums goes, "Look, dude, if you turn a time machine on," and this is the bit that blew my mind. He goes, "If you turn a time machine on, you can't go back in time to before the time machine was turned on." He says, "So if you're a time traveller 1,000,000 years in the future, and they go anywhere, you'll go, I want to go to the dawn of time," and they're going to go, "You can't." And you go, "I want to go as far back as I can." And then Drums is of the opinion, the moment you turn a time machine on, every time traveller in the history of the world is suddenly going to turn up in one moment. And he said, if the human race is successful and we go on for 1 billion years, essentially there could be 1 trillion time travellers turning up in the same spot.
He's basically saying it's going to cause the end of the world.
Yeah, it's basically like you can't do it. And
he's venomously opposed to it.
Which I actually went to look at the research he comments on, he quotes. I stopped reading and I got my tablet out and I googled it, and I spent an
That's
hour and
the
a
big
half
difference
reading the
between
theory.
me.
I was like, ooh, I did that a few times reading it actually.
Like, not just this, comic books in general, the main difference between me and you is I tend to take things at face
No,
value.
I go and I check the facts every
You'd be
time.
like, oh, and I'm like, kind of like, no, I'll just accept it because.
No, I'm like, that's why if they get their science wrong, I'm like, no, not reading anymore. Fuck you. I've done that a few times with Superman comics.
Oh god.
And I've ranted for weeks.
Really good.
Anyway, but then Elijah's answer to him is no, we'll do it. And then when he's asked later, and it's all worked and everything's great, he's like, how did you know? He's like, because I'm here protecting the world. And his attitude is, I'm going to live forever, and I'm going to be protecting this little blue ball bastard awesome until my dying breath. And he's like, I knew I would save the world because that's what I've been doing for 100 years. And I'm like, it's arrogant, yes, but that's the character. He's got to the point where he's the dad of Earth because he's old, he's really old, he's real old, and he's kind of knew he was special, and he's been doing this behind the scenes. He is the Illuminati, essentially. And he's been there in the background all this time. And he sees no reason. Now the four have gone. The only people that could ever really oppose him have gone. He's like, no, I'm going to be here forever. And he's got the money. He's got the society. And this is what the fundamental thing that it changed for me. The bit I think why I loved it and you didn't. Because I was like, this changes the game. Up till now, when I read Iron Man beat up the Mandolin or whatever his fucking name is, or I read I read Animal Man, you know, when I read things about superheroes, they save the world right now. Elijah Snow is the superhero that saved the world forever. And that's the thing. I'm like, yeah, why the fuck is Iron Man flying around in his special suit when he could be giving all that money to charities? He could be putting his brain into building machines that cure diseases and make people live longer. He could be feeding the world. Why is Batman going out saving people when he could use his business to save the world?
Well, this is the difference between Iron Man and Batman is Iron Man will, leave New York.
Yeah,
Batman's like, no, Gotham.
But it's kind of by being a better hero, by making a better Justice League, essentially, by making a team of better people, it shows what's wrong with comic books. And as an audience, it shows what's wrong with us. Because we're like, yay, Batman beat up Bane. And I'm like, yay, he saved the fucking world forever.
It's quite funny you keep bringing up Iron Man because didn't Warren Ellis write Extremist
He
as well?
did.
One of the best Iron Man stories.
But again, Extremist is good because it's a bigger, longer term picture.
You're technically saying Warren Ellis could potentially have ruined his own career because, comic books are stupid. Shit.
But what's interesting as well is the Planetary. It's 27 issues that was written over the space of pretty much a decade. It got to the point where when the last issue was out, and again this went under my radar a few years ago, a lot of years ago now. When the last issue was released, comic books all over the world had reading parties where they literally opened it up at midnight and let everyone read, because it was such a thing that people was the gap between the last issue and then the very last issue was so big. People was kind of ready for it.
And Planetary is way before my time, to be honest.
Mine too. And then for some reason, why is no one talking about this book? Why did I have to find out a random forum post on or Reddit or some shit about it and go, oh, go on then? Why did I have to find out about that? Why isn't this the thing that's in every comic book shop? As you want to read a good book, read that because it's amazing. I can't work it out. And then the book I read after this, I think, was Grant Morrison's Animal Man, which is another book that changes your perception of what a comic should be. And I keep reading these awesome books, and I feel really privileged that I get to read them, and I'm not waiting for them. I feel oh, it's really nice to know that these amazing things are there.
These books is the way I was with Saga. Saga did make a big difference to me. He changed things because it was it's sci-fi and fantasy and all this. It's so many different. You can't describe it to someone.
Yeah, you can't. Absolutely.
What's Saga like?
It's brilliant. Read it.
Just fucking read it.
Yeah. I think Saga's committed the crime of going on a little bit too long. If anything, I think they should have had a small they should have planned for a smaller run.
I think Saga struggles from its publishing times. If it was about a monthly thing, you'd be like, holy shit, I'm chomping at the
bit.
But
it's 3 months gap. 3 months gap.
When's the fucking next one?
Yeah.
Oh god, you know what I mean? So
I hope they finish it. I think the thing about these books is when you read a comic and it's when you're reading these superhero stuff. And I love superhero stuff. Don't misunderstand. I do love superhero stuff, and I've been in the hole of reading a lot of superhero stuff for a couple of years now. And then when you come out of that and you read something like Animal Man or Planetary, or I'm currently reading the Invisibles Omnibus as well, and you read things that it's like the writers. I feel like with these books, the writer's got a secret. He understands something about the universe. And then he goes, I want to educate the universe about my secret. And he's like, I could tell them, or I could make a comic book. And it's like a bit like you've wasted this. Like it's like someone's got the keys to the universe. They draw a funny book.
Where he could have just been like really high on drugs.
Either way, I don't care. Either way, my point of view is with these books, not all comic books, but some comic books. Occasionally, a writer like Warren Ellis. I've read a lot of Warren Ellis, and to be honest, it's all pretty good, but it's kind of angry, and like Planetary is quite positive, and that's why I liked it. And with the Invisibles I'm reading now, it doesn't make sense, but it's got this feeling of importance, of knowledge to it. But again, it's like the writer's got a secret, and they're slowly imparting it to you. What's he doing? Yeah, this is a big book.
Yeah, this is what he's reading now.
Yeah, The Invisibles.
That's how far in he is.
And I've been reading for weeks. The Invisibles is, this is the biggest. I would recommend anyone, if you're going to read The Invisibles, don't buy this. It's too heavy to read in the toilet. I'm not even joking. Too heavy to read in the toilet. Listen to the sound when I put it down. It's not normal. That's not a
broke your computer.
Yeah, it broke my desk. But it's really heavy.
I would say, at the end of the day, it's something that I would recommend people check out. There's some people that I can say, it definitely won't suit your tastes, so don't bother. But you just like the superhero thing. You don't like reading anything else. I won't recommend it to you. But for people that do like to step out of their wheelhouse and do like different things, especially those that tend to like the indie stuff, even though it's not indie.
It's DC, yeah, it's definitely DC.
Or
Wildstorm.
There's so many cool things in there. Little things like there's one moment where they have a hammer they use to make a portal. It's like, come on, that's fucking Mjolnir. That's Thor's hammer.
But that's the point.
But
that's the point.
They're doing it on purpose.
It's it's Warren Ellis's love letter to things he likes.
It's to show you how kind of silly these things are, like
and
how
also
it would work in the real world.
Yeah, and also at the same time, he's going, look at this ridiculously powerful thing. This thing fundamentally changes like your life and your beliefs. And he's like, and then there's like, 40 other things that do the same thing. Why are your beliefs so shit? And that's kind of, I feel that's the point. But I would say to anybody thinking about buying this, just buy the omnibus. The omnibus is about 40 quid on Amazon. If you think you're going to like it, you need to read the whole thing. So even if you think you're going to like it, you're going to buy one trade. I get what will happen is you'll read it and then you'll buy another trade. And you'll end up spending more money. And the way this reads, I wouldn't like to have been told I can't read it while I wait for Amazon to deliver the next bit. It's kind of like if you're going to get into it, you're probably going to read it.
I made the mistake of reading it by bit and then not reading it for ages and then reading it.
It's not the way to read it.
If I'd have read it all, like, I don't know, in over a weekend or something, I probably would have been a bit more like him and have been like, oh my god, yeah! Whereas now I'm kind of like, it's good.
Yeah. But read it again, man. Read it again. Read it again.
I've got
read it again. Oh man, I've got so I'm reading because I'm reading the Invisibles we just said.
Right.
I've got so much up here I haven't read at the minute. It's ridiculous.
So, that's our video about Planetary. We're pretty high up on it. I'm not as
I think it's
overwhelmingly like amazed by it, but I still think it's definitely worth a read, and it's pretty fucking cool. It's visually is really fucking good as well.
Oh yeah, graphic art wise, yeah.
Everything down to the architecture of things, like the different worlds that they go to.
They change the art style subtly and stuff. Yeah,
but it's the same artist, so he's showing off essentially.
And also because it was written over a long number of years, you can see the artist's style progress as he goes through, which is interesting.
But so that's our video about Planetary. What are you reading now? What would you recommend for people? The Invisibles.
The Invisibles I wouldn't actually recommend to anybody. The Invisibles is something that I've read. At the moment, I've read an awful lot of Grant Morrison's key volumes. I've read his book, Super Gods, which is up here, which was overrated as fuck. Not great. I read Flex Metello, which was brilliant, by the way.
It's really funny because I went, oh, you want that as a joke.
And I bought it. Yeah. I've read a lot of Grant Morrison's work. And Grant Morrison's been telling essentially the same story for a decade.
Just like Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it's a hidden evil come to get our hero from beyond. It's basically he has been Grant Morrison telling the same story in different ways. It's like he's been learning. It's like he's got the story in his head and he's trying to get it out perfect. So he has to keep going back and making a new way of telling it, which is interesting.
But what's actually happened is someone's gone into his house and found all the crumpled up bits of paper by the floor, taken it away and made a comic book out of it.
I think that's how Final Crisis was written, because that's mad as shit, that is. But now I'm more familiar with Grant Morrison's work. Final Crisis makes more sense, actually. But definitely, anything by Grant Morrison read at the minute, I'm definitely on the Grant Morrison binge. Other than that, I picked up Death of Superman, because I haven't read it for years, and you know what, because of Invisible, I haven't read it. But this book, can I just point out, if you're going to go out, Death of Superman, the graphic novel, the graphic novel, the trade version of it. It's sort of published as like it actually says graphic novel on the cover, which is why I said graphic novel. I don't know what the technicalities is, but anyway, my point is, if you get the version I've got, this feel the paper, that's really nice paper. I just struck me. I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
So me myself, with Marvel's whole Secret War thing and my just absolute reluctance to be a part of it.
Wait for a trade.
I've actually been reading the New 52 Green Lantern from the beginning, and because I share a digital account with one of my friends, and he's got
Not me.
a lot of Green Lantern on there, so I've been reading it. But there's a gap.
I'm not actually allowed to say that. Actually, I think that's against the terms of service.
I don't give a fuck. But it's got to the point where, like, I enjoy this so much. I've gone and bought 4 trades.
That's cool. I love it when that happens.
It was just like, yeah, you know, your DC character is the Flash.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna Flash, and I think I found
even if it's bad, I read it.
And I think it's Green Lantern.
That's cool.
And I'm like, you know what? I like it because I've read Blackest Night, I've read Brightest Day, and I fucking loved them. So I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? I think I'm sold. I think Green Lantern is my thing now.
Have you read? Side topic, guys. We're just not even recording now. We're just making a discussion. Have you read the new 52, the new Flashpoint Green Lantern issue?
No.
Yeah, I think you'll find that's at home on your partner's shelf.
It's
awful, but it's probably not as awful if you're familiar with the Green Lantern lore. I think it reaches back into Green Lantern history and stuff, and it probably makes a lot more sense if you're a reader of the Green Lantern.
Yeah, like I'm so much more aware of like the Guardians and all the different lanterns and different coloured lanterns and who is the the leader of all these and all that kind of stuff.
I thought it was shit, to be honest.
But I was sold because it starts off with Sinestro showing up.
That never happens.
Hal Jordan's no longer a Lantern. Don't know why, because it's issue number 1.
Yeah.
You know, the whole new 52.
Which was the soft reboot best.
Fuck
you, DC!
You know, I've made my opinion pretty fucking clear on that. So I just kind of went in here, fuck it, don't know why.
Just read it,
everything I know about Green Lantern, especially the film. And then it's be like, okay, yeah, cool. Sinestro shows up. Oh, pretend I don't know who he is. Pretend I don't know who he is. And he's like, I need your help. I'm going to make you a ring.
Yeah.
And Howard Jones like, yeah, wicked, I'll hit you with it. No, you can't. That's the one rule. I built it in, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And he has to go help Sinestro, who's for some reason a Green Lantern again.
I don't know. I have no idea.
You know, you find out as it goes on and on and on, which I guess is what they wanted you to do. But it hooked me in because I was like, this is cool. This is different. You know, he's technically working for the bad guy. I like this. You know, Sinestro's kind of got a redemption arc on the go. It's cool. I liked it, and I'm in. I'm hooked. That's it. Like,
did you read Jeff Johns' Lantern Corps stuff?
No, but I've got some of that.
All I know about the Green Lantern, all I know is that Jeff Johns' Lantern Corps took the Green Lantern from being a C character, maybe a D character, to the A leagues again, because in the 80s it had fallen out. And then when Jeff Johns did his Lantern Corps thing, it pulled it not just back into the public eye, but briefly it was one of the top selling books from DC. And Jeff Johns, he writes good stuff, but what he's got a habit, I don't even read much Jeff Johns, but he's got this weird habit of using stuff from DC's past, but in a fresh way. So he'll bring characters back you haven't thought about in a decade, but kind of like do something to make you interested. So if you don't know who they are, they're different enough so you don't feel like you're missing out. But as a historian, Jeff Johns is taking care of the Flash and the Arrow TV shows as well now. But as a writer, he does a great job of taking old ideas and making them fresh again.
I think, you know, don't quote me on it because I haven't really been paying much attention because it's digital. You don't kind of really pay. You just swipe from screenshots.
Oh, I hate guides. I use my tablet and read full page.
Well, yeah, I read the guided views, so. I think Jeff Johns might have actually written some of this because they bring Relic back, and it's like, obviously I know
Relic,
now that he's a character from the past, but it's like, oh, it's so cool. It's such
he turns up in the Continuum Controversy Cock event recently.
Convergence.
That's the one.
Oh.
Convergence.
He
did a Relic turn up for that, didn't he? Yeah. Anyway, that's been Quest Hard. Not Quest Hard. That's the wrong show. That's been Comic Nom today.
He's plugging himself as much as
I don't even know. I've done
www.comicnom.com
www.questhard.com. Just go to hexdsl.co.uk. That's where you find it.
You actually have a hexdsl.co.uk?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not vanity. If someone says to you, what's your YouTube channel, what do you say?
Sparkle Code.
Okay. Now if you're on text chat with someone, or on Twitter, you have to go, is it youtube.com/user/ or is it just /? So you do that thing in your head where you have to go and check your channel then, and then you paste it. Well, I got pissed off with that, and it cost me $5 a year for a cosmetic domain, and I just pointed it to my YouTube channel, so yeah, I got hexdsl.co.uk, and I'm shameless about it. Do you want, I can get you mike.co.uk.
I don't want mike.co.uk. I'm terrified of what kind of people would get searching for that. You know, there's some weird fucking people out there.
You know what? Mike's taken, but weirdly you can have mike.xxx.
How do you know this?
This is me, the Comic Nom Show. We'll be back bi-monthly probably when we've read something we want to talk about. If not, you should definitely keep watching this channel because my boy Mike XXX here puts out some good shit on the regular.